I'm Kelly.
Hi, I'm Andrew. And?
This is podcast 2 for Wilde Earth Journeys.
And today's topic is forest bathing.
Which is why we're in the forest.
Yeah. And we're actually going to do a walk and talk more detail about it. So we have the GoPro on a selfie stick, which is why we're hoping it's framed up okay. And there's an image of the GoPro which I hope we may insert in the video, because it's currently got cotton wool, not buds, cotton wool balls stuck on the microphone just in case there's any wind. Based on episode 1's experience, we were really lucky that there was only a couple
elastic
of gusts of wind.
onto the GoPro.
Yeah. So,
well, everyone gets to see how short I am now, because when we were sat down it wasn't immediately obvious, but there we go.
Okay, so yeah, episode 2 and Shinrin Yoku, forest bathing. We're here at our first walk location.
So this is what is called the horse lawn.
This is our horse lawn walk. Which is just outside of Sinford. You can hear the traffic close by at the moment, but we'll soon be away from that, hopefully, so it'll be more bit quieter.
Is it worthwhile just having a bit of a what is forest bathing before we start, as in like 30 seconds describe forest bathing, just in case you haven't watched the other podcast?
Good point.
And you're thinking that we're going to strip down and get into our swimming costumes in a minute and go swimming. Forest bathing is about immersing yourself in the atmosphere of the forest.
Yeah, bathing in the atmosphere of the forest.
So a slow, mindful,
immersive walk in nature.
Yeah.
So we're looking to connect with all our senses.
Yeah.
To nature is the best, I guess, abridged version of putting things.
Yeah, that's your 30 seconds up. So
okay,
we'll
done.
Talking about that now.
Okay. You need to watch episode 1. So what we did speak about before was how we always talk a walk about going through a threshold, and we kind of
the blog this week that went up on the website was about threshold.
It really was.
So it works well.
It does.
By pure accident.
Yeah.
None of this
as if we planned it. So we took our threshold is when we say we're crossing from the man-made into nature. So we're lucky where this, I don't know if you can see behind us, we're in a car park here at Horse Lawn, and if we spin around. Oh,
it's
actually,
like you're doing a little weird dance today.
Yeah, I just realised I should have just pressed the button.
We'll get better at this.
Anyhow, behind us. Can you see behind us? Is it behind us? I don't know.
Yeah.
So somewhere, hopefully behind us.
Yeah, no, you can see it. There's a gate.
There's a gate, and so that's kind of threshold number 1. So should we go through there first?
Yeah.
Because I think there's also the other opportunity. We've got another threshold here specifically, haven't we?
Oh, we have. And actually these were mentioned in the blog. And these were the trees I was talking about when I talked about 2 large oak trees stood as sentinels. Right.
So yeah, so the first threshold here is the gateway out of the car park, the parking area. Yeah. So the ability to cross into liminal space. I'm just going to switch the camera. Right, so we just switched the camera around, and what you're looking at now are our oak gateway, the sentinels, which are, I guess, guarding or overseeing the entrance to the beginning of the forest bathing experience here at Horse Lawn.
And there's something quite poignant about making a visible physical threshold available to people to walk through, isn't there, at the start of a walk?
Yeah, absolutely. It's okay, we plant the seed of thought to leave the expert mind behind when crossing a threshold, and we talk about going into that liminal space and seeing things with childlike eyes, which is great, but then to have the physical point from which to do that, it makes it more real and more tangible for people to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. just going to switch back around 1 second. Okay, we're back. We're back. Okay, so let's go through the threshold. So we've got the perspective of us walking and talking. What do you reckon? Is that kind of a better angle?
Yeah, maybe.
Just off the side there. So we're now going to go through. So we talk about threshold when we're doing a walk, and so we're just about to cross that now.
And the invitation might be just to take a few deep belly breaths and just kind of get yourself into that space, I guess. Occasionally there's an opening poem.
Yeah, we try our best to set the scene. We don't talk a lot about the history or anything first. We just want people just to start slowing down.
Relaxing into it.
Yeah, and so we don't want to create pressure. We'll give a list of instructions. It's all about the experience. So just some brief information. So the threshold is the biggest thing. Just to let go and walk in and have this experience. And already it's quieting down. It's really becoming still.
Yeah. So you're leaving the noise of the road or any other kind of man-made noise behind you and walking further into the forest. And as you do that, it's almost that permission, the ability to release and let go of that stuff you think you know to be true, and come in with that curious mind that you just spoke about, those childlike eyes back there.
Yeah, absolutely. And specifically here, as we spoke about in episode 1, we always visit our walks, our locations, to introduce ourselves to the forest, to get to know it. And so we know on this section here where we are that we will walk ahead of our guests, and we'll invite them to take their time to introduce themselves to the forest,
Go
find a
say
space.
Hello to the forest.
Go and say hello. Go and say hello. And we don't set a time. We just allow them to have that experience, and we wait further ahead down the track for them then to catch us up and maybe even share their experience. And sometimes people come back with items that have stood out to them, maybe some leaves, or sometimes feathers even.
Yeah, anything. Bark. Maybe a small stick that stood out because it's got some unusual markings on.
Where we are now, it's an evolving landscape.
Yes.
And I think, we're about to use this site for our next community walk.
I know, it's like a sneak preview.
It really is, yeah. It will be a sneak preview because it will be out.
That's the community Samhain Halloween walk that we're running on the 29th. 29th? Why do you look at me like that? Saturday the 29th? Don't make me say it again.
So I've just discovered that I may need to go and change the advertising on the website. Yeah.
What's it on as?
The Saturday following the carers walk. And I've spoke to everybody that it's the Saturday following the carers walk.
Oh, well, maybe it will be the 22nd?
Yeah. So that's watch this space.
It'll either be the 22nd or the 29th. Possibly the 22nd now.
Oh, hilarious.
Not Halloween then, Andrew.
Okay. Anyhow, this is where the community walk is going to be on that date that will be advertised.
Are we going in here at all?
Or should we go in further up there?
Okay, we can go in further up there. So, as in changing landscape, a lot of this area has been felled recently, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I think we alluded to this in our first podcast, but the rooms that we find within the forest, we tend to give names. So we've got Fairy Woods just to the left of us, which is quite magical. It's mossy. It's quite dark. It feels like you're being held when you're in that space. but a lot of it doesn't look like it did when we first came and did our walks out here, because big machinery's been through, trees have been felled, there's a lot of debris everywhere. So,
and this is, and I think we alluded to this in episode 1, that because we always scope out the walks ahead, you know, we get to know the area, but we also have to walk the routes ahead. And the first experiences of revisiting this area after the work had been, or was even underway, it was quite emotional. And I think there's a lot in the experience, I think, that I know I took away from revisiting the woods and witnessing the change, specifically around some of the specific features that we were utilizing.
Yes.
And how they had were gone. So
it's that connection though, isn't it? If you come and visit a place often enough, you get to know it like a friend.
You really
have
do.
that connection. So if someone comes in and cuts down a tree that you're familiar with, it is going to be an emotional experience.
Yeah.
And it's been, we talked about this before, it's been about being able to accept change.
Yes, absolutely.
And potentially seeing opportunities in change.
Yeah.
So being able to honour both sides, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we know this is a working forest.
Yeah.
And there is that acceptance, there is that knowledge, and the thoughts and emotions we experience because of well, my expectations. I don't want to say our expectations, but that's something we can talk about in the experiences that when we go out and about, and especially when people maybe witness what they may perceive as destruction.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting conversation we can have and share our experience, our insights on.
Yeah.
Should we go ahead up to we'll get into the fairy woods?
Yeah. Birds are quieter today, sheltering from the rain, I think.
Which has just stopped.
As if by magic. So having said that, we did a carer's walk.
Here.
We utilised part of this route for a carer's walk, and that was in the rain.
It really was. We bring out a shamanic drum occasionally, and that was one of the occasions where we did. And in the rain, it sounded amazing.
It did.
It really did.
The forest looks different in the rain as well.
It does. It really does. And I forget the specific name, but if you've had a long warm spell, and after the first rains, the oils release from the ground, and you just get that special, unique smell. It's not woody. I don't know how to describe it, but it does have a specific name which eludes me right now. So we're going to cut up here.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I don't know if we can pick this up. Let me just see if I can turn the camera around. On the floor, right? Yeah, where we are now. This is a calling card of the local wildlife, the boar, which is
very active at the moment. Lots of nuts on the ground.
Yes, there are. We've got a lot of, for want of a word, fruiting bodies, acorns. But to be fair, they will do their best to avoid us, and we're not looking to create any surprises and to spring on them.
Deer footprints.
Yeah. Sometimes we're lucky and we do bump into the occasional fallow deer. I think there are 2 herds in the forest.
Right here, aren't we? not too muddy at the moment, but it's heading that way.
So this is one of the sit spots that we utilise in, I guess this is one of the entrances we use to the fairy woods.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some nice features here. There's a nice chestnut which kind of overlooks the area and has quite a presence.
Oh yeah, she's in charge here.
She is.
Yeah.
She is, but this is a place where we pause and we start talking about the health benefits. We start sharing a little bit about why forest bathing is something which is good for your well-being in general. I think I can't remember if we spoke about this in episode 1.
We didn't. I think we briefly mentioned that there were health benefits.
I'm just going to put this down 1 second.
But we didn't really go into much detail, so it might be nice to say that, you know, there's over 30 years of research now.
Yeah,
I don't even think we mentioned that it came about from the health crisis in Japan
in the
actually
80s.
Relatively recent times. So
yeah, because Shinrin Yoku, I mean, I love the word, and I think we spoke about the amazing words that are in this practice. And it sounds such an ancient word, but believe if in the early 80s, 82, it was first termed because of the mental health crisis in Japan, and they were conducting experiments on how they could aid that, and they started running walks outdoors in the forest, and a comparison group of people doing walks, I think in that case in shopping malls.
Yeah, I think they've done various studies, but one, I mean, they've looked at people inside hospitals being able to look at TV screens or just pictures of forests.
Greens, yeah, the actual colour green.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Eastern medicine tends to be more holistic and nature-based. It always has been. And their answer to their crisis was to send people out into nature to the point where they have dedicated clinics and dedicated forest bathing forests, which are graded according to how ancient the forests are, because ancient forests, we know, because we can measure phytoncides and the gases and the oils and even the frequencies these forests give off. So we know that ancient forests provide better benefits than newer forests. So they've graded their forests according to the benefits.
They have licensed forests in Japan for forest bathing, and each one of them has a medical centre on site where you can visit and have blood work done before and after, so that you get that tangible measurement. Well, this is where all the research is being done, which is what we're drawing upon in that 30 years. And so today there are 60 plus forests which are licensed with a medical centre and have forest guides to take you out on the forest bathing experience. And I think why that's important and why we do what we do is through invitations, and each of these invitations that we offer the people that come out with us are to experience nature through their senses, to slow down.
Sorry, I just got dripped right on the face.
Well, in that
So I'll be
serious
there
moment.
going,
In that serious moment. Slow down.
and there's my message from the forest.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of, if you're going to put it in a nutshell, it combines nature connection with the more mindfulness-based work that's been very popular actually in recent years. Even over here in the UK. So yeah, the thing is, you don't know what you don't know, and I experience the forest now because we had that weekend in Devon where we were taught to experience it in this way. And I know we talked about this on the first podcast. We get people who live in the forest come out on forest bathing walks, and they always, one of the first things, I'm always out in the forest. I go out for an hour every day in the forest walking my dog. But their experience of walking their dog in the forest is vastly different to the experience they get when they come with us. And the invitation is to slow down, let go of what you know to be true, be curious, be open to whatever comes up, to possibly ground by going barefoot.
Oh wow, yeah. When
So
you
the
do
whole
that.
point of having the guide is because a lot of people don't know how to experience the forest in that way.
And I think it's interesting, as you say it, to have the guide. And if we look at what we all think of what a guide is, we create the invitations. And I say create because we also work with the environment. And as we've already said, the environment is forever changing. So we utilize what we come across. So we can change and adapt our invitations each and every time we go out. And it doesn't mean it has to be a prescribed format each and every time. So as guides, we kind of read and utilize the environment around us. And I think that's half the joy of it.
Yeah.
Creating these invitations. And we were lucky. I was lucky enough yesterday to attend an AGM for a local health forum, and in that audience were two people who'd been out with us in two different experiences, and to hear their feedback, it's always refreshing and quite humbling, really, to understand what we enjoy creates such an impact in others.
Yeah,
It really
absolutely.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is our first sit spot where we share a little bit about the health benefits.
Do we want to say what they are?
I was going to say, we spoke a lot about the research, but the health benefits, the tangible
Get
health
used to us
benefits.
going off on a tangent.
Yeah. So we talked about the blood tests that are taken. So from the blood tests, they know that the immune system is boosted, and that specifically the NK cells, natural killer cells, within our bodies are boosted, and those are the natural defense against cancer. The immunity, the boost in the immune system is measurable up to 30 days after a forest bathing experience, which I think that in the tests where that is stated, it was a 2-hour forest bathing experience. So, and we know then it helps with blood sugar, helps with cholesterol,
Anxiety,
stress,
stress,
all those emotional
depression,
things.
all the emotional stuff. Yeah.
There are studies out there, I think, for each and every eventuality. There's 30 years of evidence out there now, but it's all evidence based. So yeah, the emotions, the immune system, blood sugar, cholesterol. I'm kind of searching now my memory.
It comes down to the frequency, doesn't it? That's given off by the forest, because everything is made of energy, and also comes down to these gases and these oils.
Terpenes and phytonutrients. So yay! There are. I think they've measured up to 5,000 volatile components that the environment utilizes to defend itself, and it's that defense that we benefit from when we're breathing it in the environment. So, for example, an oak or a beech will know, well, for want of a word, feel pain. It knows when its leaves are being eaten, so it can change then the content, or the tannin, to make the leaves bitter, to make it less enjoyable to eat upon. At the same time, it can also trees will release gases to communicate with even itself within the canopy, but also then to attract in natural predators of the insects that are feeding upon it. So there is a lot of intelligence out there, and
super clever.
I know I use the phrase a lot, tree time, because these things happen all around us, but just at a different time frame than what we experience the world around us.
Yeah. I think the other reason it feels so good to be out here is down to a phenomenon, which is, I know, also one of your favourite words, so I'm going to steal it from you today: biophilia.
Yeah.
So maybe at some point later in the walk we can touch upon what biophilia means and how that fits into like this jigsaw of why everything just works when you're out in nature. Yeah,
absolutely. So what if I turn the camera around and we perhaps walk out of this space, so we can have a chat, but our audience can actually see where we're walking.
Yep, let's go for it.
In a second. Okay, let's head this way.
past the matriarchal chestnut tree.
Yeah, let's see if I can get that. Yeah, just taking some of that.
Still pretty green.
Yeah, yeah, you can see the environment changing colour, which
Look at the ferns.
yeah, just adds an additional beauty. Using these environments all year round, you get to witness this change. This is an interesting space where we invite our participants to guide us out, because there's no path, there's no obvious trail,
Just a general direction.
just a general direction. We will ask one of the guests to say, go in that direction until you come to a track, and at that point we'll just wait and gather back up again. There's some interesting drainage ditches here, so just I'm hoping they don't suddenly get an aerial shot.
I'm just waiting for me to deck it. It used to be pretty clear, and hopefully you can see on the video so much debris when they've been through here with machines and they've been thinning.
Yeah, I think
Are you seeing the mushrooms?
being, oh wow,
We've passed a few crops of them now.
it is that type of year. Oh, look at this, amazing. It is just fascinating to see how the seasons bring on the different environments, and each room just changes. And I think it's interesting. I'm going to go this way. Just hearing the wind in the distance, and on a walk we did recently, one of the guests was commenting on how the wind sounded like trains approaching, and it's fascinating.
Other times it sounds like the sea. We've had that as well, haven't we?
We have. It's always an adventure to discover where we're going to pop out onto this track.
Easier at this time of year. In the summer you're just blanketed by ferns.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh wow, look at the chestnuts.
Oh wow.
I think the
Lots of
boar have been out having a munch around here as well. Okay, just going to spin it back around again.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Speaking to me for some reason. It's not really a poem, but it's more of a...
We're back.
Yes, they're back.
So, in fact, it's interesting.
Again. Sorry.
We've popped out. Actually, it's for want of a word, the next gathering point, which
Another big chestnut.
which is another big chestnut.
There's a few dotted through here. It's an interesting piece of
just going to spin it around. So
forest because there's quite a variety of trees in Fairy Woods.
yeah,
Like looking behind, there's a birch there, and some kind of fir tree.
Larch.
That is a larch, well done. As well as the chestnut. I don't know if there's any Scots pine here. I think it's mostly larch over in this section.
Yeah, the Scots pine are like almost the next avenue across, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, but there is quite a variety of trees here.
Yeah, they really are, which is we're blessed by.
Yeah.
And well, that's an interesting discussion again, perhaps for another
podcast.
episode.
So we thought it might be nice to share some words at this meeting space. And I've just opened up my journal, and one thing's popped out to me, and it's this phrase: when you really gaze at something, you bring it inside you, which is a practice we use a lot when we're out in the forest. There's some words here by John O'Donoghue, our crush.
What did I call him?
I don't know.
I came up with. I spoke. I know.
You gave him a new name.
I gave him a new name, didn't I? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. There is a place in you where you have never been wounded, where there's a seamlessness in you, and where there is a confidence and a tranquility in you.
Yeah. The power of words.
Yeah.
Amazing, because in each and every, I mean, there's always time to reflect when we share any pieces of any poetry or any extracts from the written word, because for each and every one of us, it'll mean something different.
Yeah. And I think quite intuitive with it, aren't we?
Yes.
So different words match different rooms and different forests.
Yes, absolutely. We have quite a, I guess, quite a selection of words now, and growing. And I think, and a lot of it is, in some respects, intuitive. So we have a selection to draw upon, but then it's a case of which one, I guess, in some respects, feels right, stands out, and presents itself sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's carry on. So our next area that we, I guess, named or became apparent. I was about to say it was the Barefoot Path, but it's not actually. It's not the Barefoot Path.
No, the Barefoot Path is after
the next one
path.
Again.
We've done some blindfold or paired walking down through this next section, which is another one of our invitations.
And it's an amazing experience to basically... Oh, there's two aspects to this. I'll say the first part, that we will ask people to close their eyes. Usually, always, pair up.
Don't start walking through the woods with your eyes closed, because you never know what's going to happen.
There is a way
Unless
of
you
doing.
have like immensely.
There is a way of doing
that.
Yeah. There is. But yeah, pairing up, one of the pair will close their eyes and the other will guide them. And so removing sight we're such a visual civilization, for want of a word.
Yep.
We use our vision for everything. Wow, sorry, I've got to pause for a moment. There are acorns everywhere here right now. Wow.
It's actually, there's a lot of fruit and a lot of nuts this year. It's been a really bountiful harvest. And it actually might be worth just mentioning there that this happens because the trees as a community decide when they're all going to fruit.
Yeah.
So last year there wasn't a lot at all, actually.
No?
Almost nothing really compared to this year. So the oak trees have obviously collectively decided that this is the year they're going to produce a big harvest.
And it's usually beach at the same time, isn't it? From and I'm saying usually, I know there's a lot of written work out there which evidence-based what we're talking about here. So yeah, we're on a path now where we invite our participants, our guests, to pair up and one of them to close their eyes, to take the sight away. And it's fascinating. It slows you down, instantly slows you down.
It does.
And you start experiencing almost your feet as another pair of eyes. because you get to feel the surface below you. You can map out if you're going up an incline or going down, even if it's a slight rise in the surface, or going to a bank. You know if it's going soft, and you think, oh, this is grass. It's amazing what you can detect just from the awareness in your feet and your ears. Wow, what you hear. It's really so I'm laughing because when we walked down here once, we had a group doing this exercise, and a walker out with a dog, and the dog had, for want of a word, like sleigh bells.
Yes.
So it was as if it was a reindeer running through the woods. So there was a lot of confused faces going on. It was an interesting, and again, it's where the brain goes from when we hear sounds and what we associate.
Oh, we absolutely, we automatically make the assumption that we know what it is in that particular sound.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why we talk about let go of the expert mind and start bringing in that childlike curiosity. So we let go of knowing and be curious to the reality of what we're experiencing.
Alert call, alert call. Bird's going crazy.
Chifcha, is it?
Yeah, down over in that direction.
Why I bring that specifically is it's interesting when we go into a new area. It's usually a chifcha.
There's always a chifcha.
Sending off the alarm, or almost it becomes a bit of a confirmation that we're in the right space.
Yeah. I was in two minds about whether or not to talk about, because we just mentioned about Oakham Beach a minute ago and those nuts. And what we do on the walks is we pick out plants and birds and trees and talk a bit about what they are and some of the folklore and mythology associated with them.
Yes.
I'm a bit hesitant to do too much of that today. One, because I want you guys to come out on the walk and experience it. And two, because we've just started putting up videos around trees and their mythologies. And I've got Oakham Beach down for the next couple of weeks. So I don't want to give anything away. I want you guys to watch the videos.
Okay. and to be fair, we've also had a request from I want to say one of our listeners.
Who do we think we are?
Oh, hilarious. He's not, that's funny, just changed hands. That's so much easier holding it in front of us.
Live and learn.
To talk about myth, legends,
yeah,
and maybe even the symbolism of the world around us. So I think that's something we could share more about.
Absolutely. Well, there'll be another video. We did silver birch last week.
Yes.
And there'll be another video going up this week. So keep your eye out on our Facebook and on our Instagram pages for those videos, because those go into a lot of the folklore and mythology around the trees specifically that we work with in the Forest of Dean.
Yeah, and I do know there's an interesting, with the silver birch piece that you put out, and I know you had some inquiries about where is that?
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because that actual avenue of silver birch is really close to an industrial area.
Yes.
So, sometimes I think we can be too hung up on things being perfect.
Yes.
And we look for this escaping wilderness, miles away. But in fact, they can be right on our doorstep, and we can have the same powerful experience if we allow it. And there's some really amazing, beautiful spots.
Yeah.
Just off that industrial estate in Siniford, around Linear Park.
That's all part of that letting go and having that curious mind, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I spoke about that in that Thresholds piece that went out in the blog this week, about how long it took to go out and do the medicine walk that we had to do for our praxis, because it almost had to be like this perfect, magical, I'm gonna have this amazing experience or some kind of epiphany walk, when really a medicine walk is whatever it needs to be for you. And a medicine walk could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes off the industrial estate, and suddenly you find yourself in a spot that you would never have considered particularly magical or special, but actually at that moment in time calls to you or has a message for you or a feeling or emotion.
And that's a really interesting place, and I know we're not there now, but one of the things we like to do where we walk is we like to see if we can understand the history of the environment, and that specific place has got a lot of industrial history, and in fact it was a tramway, but today it's an amazing piece of nature, and in fact an amazing vantage point in which to observe nature. Deer, boar, yeah, I think it's really interesting what little amazing magical places you can find where you don't expect them. You just have to go out and have the experience.
Gotta just be open to whatever comes up. Yeah. I take it they're working in the woods today.
Yeah, I think so.
Judging by the sound of the chainsaws going in the distance.
And to be fair, you don't usually get the men out with a labour force with chainsaws.
No, it's normally big machinery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of mindful at the moment that I'm just walking along enjoying myself, and this is a podcast, so people are expecting us to talk. So easy just to go into that.
It is, and I think it was one of the things we spoke about was to not necessarily take you on a forest bathing experience with all of the invitations, but to maybe to share that we have invitations because we want to utilize, we want that our guests are to engage through each of their senses, you know, the sight, the hearing, touch, and smell, to explore in so many different ways at a very slow pace. And I know we individually will take out clients wild coaching, and because this environment just seems to give participants, clients, whatever you want, guests, the feeling of being held, the feeling of being safe, and conversation just naturally evolves, and people are able to access I guess knowledge about themselves and their experience that they may not have been able to do before, and reach their own lessons and realizations.
Yes, well, that's what makes it so different from traditional, you know, psychotherapy or counselling, is that actually this whole thing is guided by the individual.
Absolutely.
There's no presumption that we're experts and we hold space over people and we know what they need and when they need it. There's just a holding of safe, non-judgmental space.
And I think it's in I think we're part, no, I don't think, I know we're part of another movement or other organisation which is starting up at the moment, specifically to I say not to train, but to allow existing practitioners and professionals to have this experience and utilise the space, because there are many professionals who do utilise the green space to enhance the.
I think more and more actually. It's becoming more common.
Well, some of our mentors are professional coaches or psychotherapists and utilise the space, which is why we know it's so powerful. The
two go really well. So there is obviously.
So I'm pausing a moment. It's just whether or not which way to go.
Okay.
Down.
Yeah, we'll head down this way.
Yeah.
I don't think we can get through the Altar Woods at the moment. There is a time and a place for traditional therapies, absolutely. Just as there's a time and a place for things like allopathic medicine. But I think what is a really lovely time we're coming to is the realization that it's not an either or, that you can have both, and that both work in synergy with each other and actually really, really well. So for me, this is something that absolutely complements so many other things that could be going on.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that bringing everything together and knowing that at any one time an individual might need a little bit of this or a little bit of that, or a lot of that and not so much of that, and that you can kind of bounce around and in and out of things as and when you need them.
And there's two things which I think come to my mind when you say that, and they both kind of really excite me, because all that I think we do is all about empowering.
Yes.
And the first part of that empowerment is to create choice. And I think the more choice we can create with for us as the human civilization, as human beings, instead of being told what to do, to feel empowered, to be curious, to have choice, and to know it's okay to be wrong as well.
Yeah.
So that you can then make a different choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, to create options for people to have this experience and be able to choose what we utilize for our own well-being, to feel informed and empowered.
And to be in a place where actually you're able to access that kind of inner knowing that we've all got, that intuition that we've all got about ourselves, to be able to actually access that so that you can begin to understand how you can heal yourself.
Create that trust.
Yeah.
To create that trust, because we all have the gut sense, that gut feeling. Feel it in my bones, feel it in my water, whatever. Yes. And in some respects, I think it's been let go of, because it's too easy that we, in the modern world, things are brought to us, and we're told what to do, told what to experience, and and we become desensitized to our own self and inner wisdom.
Yeah,
and I
that's
think
absolutely part of it.
And these little invitations that we've talked about already take away the vision, so we enhance the hearing.
It's an invitation to use that more creative right side of your brain instead of that constant left side analytical. So it is really about, we use the word connection a lot, but it really is that actually if you can connect with nature at that level, you can connect with yourself.
Yes.
At that level, and if you can connect to yourself at that level, then anything is possible.
Yes, oh my word, everything is possible.
Yeah.
And the other thing, the second point, before I forget it, is that we were talking about choice, but also I think one of the things we've spoke about, and I think perhaps hopefully that will come to life, is the meeting an individual, having a conversation to understand what's going on and how that's impacting them, is to almost create not a green prescription, but an individual prescription.
Yeah.
Because within our network, our virtual network, our organisations, we have a lot of skills, and I think what we find important is to allow an individual to have the right experience for them. Not a prescribed, you have to do this, then this, then this, but through a conversation, really listening to what's going on for that person, we can perhaps we can signpost people within our organisation or in our affiliations, where we collaborate with so many people, to something which is right for them.
At that moment in time.
What do you
need right now, and knowing that what you need right now might not be what you need tomorrow, next week, 3 months time, 5 years time.
Because it brings it back to the power of conversation, power of listening and properly understanding, seeking confirmation that I understand what you're saying. It's so important in what we do. So just off to our left, I don't know if we can go in this route.
Arlioka's down here, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. There was a log pile. I don't know if it's that one coming up now, which marked the entrance to an amazing barefoot path, which unfortunately is out of action now, because for the time being, yeah. But we can't use it right now. But it was a really mossy, green, beautiful experience.
And again, it's something that there's been more and more research on just recently, hasn't there? That earthing or grounding.
Yeah.
So taking your shoes off and putting...
Hi there.
Hiya. Hello. Putting your bare feet on the earth.
Yeah.
So that you are matching the frequency of the earth, and you can get rid of those negative ions and toxins that we all accumulate through our diet and the Wi-Fi and everything else that we're bombarded with in our environment.
This electrical world around where we positively charge up. In there, well, there's some amazing. Was it the Earthing movie, which is you're able to watch on YouTube. Yeah, there's so much information in that, which I think would be which you couldn't possibly capture right now.
But every invitation has a potential benefit
of
some kind.
Yes, yeah,
Either
absolutely.
something we know that's measured and tangible because there's however many years of research, or because actually just on an energetic, emotional level, you'll be able to take whatever you need in that moment from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, well, we've experienced it, and
that's why we're so passionate about it.
Absolutely. Are we going up here?
I think so.
So this is actually, I'm just trying to work out where on the map whether it's a boundary or whether it's a tramway. I can't remember, but it's a very it's a very
wall, isn't
what's the word, not secluded, it's quite a secluded track.
I just want to walk under the trees.
Ah!
I haven't found the one to Narnia yet.
We keep trying.
Yeah, I will.
I'm wondering if I switch the camera around again.
Have a little mooch at the fire.
Yeah, 1 second. So yeah, this is a little bit of a secluded track. It's not hidden by any means, but it's off the main fire path.
Yeah.
But it's a little adventure in itself, isn't it? I think.
Yes, there's lots of these around because it's a mixture of. Sometimes you have to be on a main path, and actually some of the invitations, like the blindfold walking, works well, and especially for summer groups who have maybe mobility issues and things like that. And then these little single track paths, which are dotted all around the forest, and then actually just going completely off path completely.
Yeah, there's so many different experiences here, which again we adapt, because each group we take out, we look to create the best experience for them.
If you have kids, the best thing you can do is go with your kids into the forest, because your kids will always find the most amazing paths or like animal trails through the forest. So yeah.
And I've definitely witnessed that when we've gone out with your two youngest.
Yeah. Yeah, we found some amazing paths, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm just going to pan across here, because it's an amazing landscapes where nature is taken over with moss, and
it's really vivid today as well. I think we've had that rain.
yeah.
It might be interesting to pick up on these.
When we
so quite a lot of wet boggy areas in the Forest of Dean, and actually I think they're working hard to recreate some of those, because originally the Forest of Dean would have been boggy areas interspersed with trees, not just this huge swathe of continual forest, which it has been for however many years it's been that way now. So there's a move towards thinning and then creating areas which are more like these kind of like wetland, marshy areas.
I think primarily because of now they're talking about knowing how those areas absorb carbon from the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I know one area where we walk not far from here. They're taking the drainage out. They're blocking up the drainage ditches, aren't they, to stop taking the water away, to bring it back.
What it does mean is we get these lovely grasses, and quite often, if there's a feature like that, we can use it. So we'll often get people weaving or plaiting grasses.
As part of, we talk about the gratitude for the experience we have, and so sometimes it depends on the environment, where we are, the walk we're on. We might ask for people to listen to that wind coming through. Pick up an item maybe, and it could be acorns, it could be any type of fruit, it could be leaves.
It could be anything.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
But where there are reeds and these grasses, sometimes, if it feels right to do so, that we will gather maybe enough to weave with, and we'll create a plait, which whilst we're talking, whilst we're walking, and to almost weave in that positive intention, that positive experience that we and the group have had, and what we then create. And again, we're not looking for perfection, it's the experience and the energy and the emotion that gets put into that object. We can use as a mark of gratitude for our experience, and when we're exiting the forest, we can find a place to leave it.
It's interesting, that one as well, because it's almost a way of honouring conversation, community, connection with other people. I know last time we did this with people, we talked about that braiding the sweetgrass.
Yes.
And how that is born from a tradition of braiding sweetgrasses together, either with one other person or in a large group, as you're storytelling and holding these conversations. And we know the power of storytelling and the power of conversation, and it's almost that real deep honouring of that and the importance of it to individuals and to groups of people.
Yeah, the word in my mind is coming forward now is the word intention, and I think intention is such a powerful thing, and through that storytelling and that shared experience, what we create and instow in the object to hold that experience, that intention, is so powerful. This where we are now, there is this single solitary beach where there's almost a track of oaks, and then we come across this little beauty where she's just standing. Oh no, where she's standing on her own, really holding this space.
Yeah. Birch here again as well, actually.
Yeah. But this is perhaps going to be
Lady of the Forest with the Queen.
I'm just going to come across there.
This is actually looking better through here now.
It is, isn't it? This is where we were talking about the access point by the log pile. We'd walk into this woods barefoot, and it was such soft underfoot, wasn't it? It was mossy. It was years of pine needles gathering upon itself and creating a cushion to walk upon.
Yeah.
And it's still there, and as Kelly's saying now, it's getting it's re-establishing itself. There looked like to be more obvious ways through, where it was a little bit difficult when we first came back in, wasn't it?
Oh, we tried that one day.
Yeah.
It kind of spat us back out and went, no, not yet.
Not yet, no. I need time to rest.
Yeah.
And recover. Not now.
Yeah, it's an interesting path because you have got this boundary wall. So it's bizarre because, and a lot of people brought this up, that you're just walking in the middle of a forest and suddenly there's a wall.
Yes, they have.
Just in the middle of the woods. But I mean, I think that's
So
That's just a nod to its rich history.
so much conversation in that in it itself, because I
Yeah.
guess from what you can see on the left hand of the shot now, you can see a bank and it looks like an earth bank, but in fact there is a stone boundary wall in there. And I think I'm not sure if it wasn't last week. No, it wouldn't have been last weekend.
The race.
Yeah, so we're out here sharing this natural environment with the guests who join us, and at the same time there are a lot of activities going on, and there was a mountain bike race out here recently where this was one of the tracks they used. Well, I'm going to pause 1 second, so I want to make sure what it is I'm seeing here. I think I'm getting cotton wool appear in the shot. 1 second.
You are. On.
Yeah.
Fixed or technical
I
malfunction.
I do apologise. I have no idea how long the improvised windshield was creeping and making its presence known. Which brings up, anybody out there wishes to provide any sponsorship for equipment, please do let us know. We can perhaps remove the cotton balls from the microphone.
Hey, one day we'll have the whole setup.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Which I think just emphasises that things don't need to be perfect.
Yes.
We know the importance of doing what we're doing, and this is why we are doing it. We know it's not perfect. We know it's organic, but we're having.
It's human.
It's human, and it's a joy. It's a passion.
I had this conversation with someone the other day though, because we were talking about perfection. I think a lot of people would probably classify themselves as perfectionists, and that whole notion that actually perfection doesn't really exist in the way we think it does. It's in those like tiny fleeting moments. So, you know, the smell of a baby straight after a bath, or that amazing sunrise or sunset, or that moment you spot a deer in the woods. And it's always brief and it's always fleeting. And they're moments to be savoured and enjoyed. But actually what we really should be looking for isn't perfection, but that kind of overall contentment.
The power of now.
Yes.
The awareness in the moment.
Yeah.
Going, I mean, the power of mindfulness, we talk about that, which is all about the true awareness of now without judgment, and, you know, to really experience the reality and the truth.
And it's not all pretty.
No.
And being okay with the fact that actually sometimes things are as far from perfect as possible. They're even as far from contentment or happiness as possible, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the beautiful things about nature, is that if there's one message you ever get from it, that actually it meets you where you are.
And it's constantly changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to switch camera back round.
Okay.
We're back. What we were talking about the power of now and not perfection.
Meeting you where you are, and actually might be a nice time to kind of go into that. We alluded to it in Fairy Woods, but go into that notion of what's the other part of the puzzle of why this stuff works and why it feels good. And it was that biophilia.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, do you want to pick it up? I know it's my favourite word, but it's. Do you want to? We'll keep chipping in this.
Yeah. So I mean, if we were just gonna, in a nutshell, sum up what we mean by the word biophilia, it's that nature is innate within us. We are part of nature. We're part of this huge web of connection where everything is related, and actually to the point where if we look at how long humans have been on this planet for, and we look at how long we've been in what we would classify as modern civilization, and we put the length of time humans have been on the planet on a football pitch, then actually the time we've been in modern civilization and kind of removed from nature and all this stuff would be the last 2 inches of the touchline. And the rest of the time, the rest of that football pitch would be actually how we've lived up until that point, which has been out in nature.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of within our genetic makeup that this is a place where we belong, where we can be safe, where we can be our authentic, true selves.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what we talk about when we talk about biophilia, and why it feels good to be out in the forest, because obviously we've talked about the oils and the gases and all that kind of stuff, but that kind of like innately within us programming to be out here.
It's in our DNA.
Yeah.
Which is why, and you mentioned there, we feel safe, innately safe. And I know that's a bit of a sweeping term, and perhaps we can touch upon that in a moment. But innately there is this, we feel at home in nature. And so some of the exercises we do, where we just soft fascination, so staring at branches, at leaves, that fractalization, that pattern, it's almost comforting. It almost doesn't require thought and searching. So we can easily relax whilst looking out upon these natural patterns, leaves and branches. It's just naturally within us. Just listening to a potential spectator coming close behind. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, running fast. Straight for Andrew, no doubt.
It's amazing that how the forest is utilised in as much as it's a place, for leisure and for families and for dog walking, and a lot more recently filmmaking.
Yes.
There's a lot of filmmaking that carries on around this space.
So,
but yeah, sorry, biophilia. Going off a tangent again there. It's interesting. I was looking at the figures yesterday because I did a talk. And it talks about, between the 6 and 7 million years that the human beings are, have been on this planet, and I say that with eyebrows raised. But it's 0.01% of that has been out of nature, and in fact it's only I think is it since the year 2000, or it may even be sooner than that. The World Health Organization has only recently classified us as being an urban civilization. So it's there, even within that organization, it's been recognized that the majority of population live in a natural environment. So it is just such it's such a diversification of uses and how we can utilize it and exist within it and work with it.
Yeah, I wanted to pick you up on the point because we made the sweeping generalization that it's a safe space.
Yes.
And there'll be some people listening, or watching, going, I am not going out to the forest. I hate bugs. I'm not going to sit on the floor. What if I meet a boar? So it's an interesting concept, isn't it?
Yes, it really is.
Because not everybody necessarily feels safe in nature, and it's not because they're so far removed from nature that it's not a safe space for them. It's because of all of these beliefs and values that
and previous experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And from within, and also because of what society or culture might say.
Sorry, when I said previous experiences, I was kind of alluding to the fact where we might work with people who have had traumatic experiences in the past, which create them to be more alert in the everyday environment.
In any environment.
And because
Yeah.
of where we are, being in nature, there's a lot to observe. So it can be initially overwhelming. And we recognise that. And which is why, sorry, that's hilarious. There's another squirrel.
Yeah.
A squirrel.
There's going to be one on every podcast.
Yeah. Which is why, and sometimes what we'll do, and we won't necessarily go out and walk and do all these different invitations what we spoke about, we might actually just find a single space
Yeah.
to be and sit in, and that could be even around a fire, having conversation, because we know the power of conversation. And if we're out with a specific group who all have the same experience, then there is conversation which becomes almost peer support.
Yeah.
So this is why it's important to utilize this natural space in a way that is appropriate for meeting people where they are.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And we've had people with anxiety, deep anxiety, come out into the forest with us, and people who would never go and walk in the forest by themselves or put their feet on the floor because they might tread on a bug. All sorts, and it's something we talk about a lot, because a lot of the stuff that happens when you're in the forest is magical and positive.
Yeah.
But when you put yourself in a position where you've given your permission to have time and space to allow anything to come up, inevitably there will always be times when challenges arise.
Yeah.
And you're sat by your tree in the forest saying hello to it, and suddenly you think, oh my gosh, what is that feeling and why do I feel like this? Because we're all carrying around deep-seated traumas or values or beliefs, or things are going on in our lives that are challenging, and we either face them or we repress them, and at some point if we repress them they have to come up, and being in the woods kind of gives space for that.
And I think that's the other important part of our role,
Yeah.
is to hold that space,
Yeah.
to honour that experience, to work with the individual, to I'm going to say to meet those thoughts, to meet those emotions in a way that is comfortable.
Yeah.
Turn towards as best you can, because it's paraphrasing from a word or a phrase from other work that we do. What we resist persists.
Yeah.
And this is an environment where we as guides, we as coaches can work with the individuals to meet that and to go beyond.
Yeah. Because when we're walking and looking to the camera and talking for so long that we don't realise where we are in the forest.
I was just looking, it's interesting.
there we go.
Again, metaphorically, we've reached a crossroads.
Yeah.
We have choices to make.
God. Not us two making decisions. Lord help everybody.
And it's interesting because it's like, it's feeling, how long have we been talking? Not quite sure. And knowing what's down there, knowing what's down in this other direction. And I think actually, to be fair, it's probably in this direction.
Yeah,
I think so.
I'm agreed.
Yeah,
We're being called this way.
we are. And in fact, what I want to talk about here is how down this avenue there is this avenue of cherries. This and although out of season now, come around that what time is it? Around March, April.
Time, yeah, March, April.
And you get the blossoms coming out, and it's almost what we're we're envisaging as potentially our own little cherry blossom season.
Little blossom festival.
We're running a little blossom festival around here.
That'd be amazing. Such a big thing in Japan.
Yes.
Because it's honouring that fleeting beauty. But we've talked about that just a minute ago, about these fleeting moments of perfection, because
Yeah.
perfection doesn't exist or persist in the way we think, and it's that
constant perfection. You're
it's
trying
that
to seek
fleeting moment of beauty that you can really, really appreciate, and then knowing that you've got this whole cycle, so this life, death, life cycle, where actually for something to be reborn, it has to die, and being aware of that cycle and actually honouring it and appreciating the beauty of that
in
cycle.
that moment as well.
Yeah.
You can experience, absolutely. Just trying to think, gazing upon that blossom is quite an experience. But it is gazing upon the individual moments, that we experience in every day. A simple practice, the gratitude practice, a diary, a journal, being grateful for the smallest things, the things that make you smile, the things that make you chuckle. Not quite sure when the battery went there. No. And I just said something about bounce back ability.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, the gratitude. We're on about gratitude, just in case, not sure what we missed, but having gratitude, creating resilience so that we can bounce back.
Yeah. And then we went into a time warp.
Oh yeah, obviously interesting setting.
I was just about to talk actually before the battery went dead, about when you said about gratitude's like training a muscle, and we've just done some work recently with a group of year 9s in a local secondary school, and that's exactly what we were working on, that kind of idea that your brain is the same and that you can change. You've got this neuroplasticity, which means actually if you train your brain a certain way, you can train yourself almost to be more grateful, more positive. And it doesn't mean you're never going to have bad times, but actually the ability to overcome and get through those bad times becomes easier.
Creating choice, creating options through awareness.
Yeah, that whole acknowledging and accepting whatever comes up, good and or perceived bad, because I don't think there's such a thing as bad.
It's an experience.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, acknowledging and accepting those as they are, and then just being able to kind of work through those things. Yeah,
that was an interesting time. I know I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I discovered a passion to, rediscovered, when I say rediscovered, to empower others. And so that's ultimately what we do. When I say rediscover or discover, I've always known how I want to do that for one of the adults who are seeking change, because that's been my life experience, wanting to create change from where I was to where I am today, and still evolving. But what I hadn't necessarily realised is through childhood and schooling experience, where I was in the system and didn't have awareness of choice, or when I say awareness as choices that I could have, I don't think I was empowered at all. And I think
I don't ever remember feeling empowered at school whatsoever.
No. And I think that's what we were looking to do, was to almost create empowerment through communication.
Yes.
And I think that's another passion of mine, is that, conscious, authentic communication. And I think if you can really share your thoughts and your experience in a way that it will be heard, or understand how it will be heard, because we're all listened differently. And I think that's something that we looked to instill, that through experience of being able to communicate where they were at that time. So yeah, I think that was interesting for me to discover that, wanting to create that empowerment with a younger generation again.
And an interesting time, because I think we're really crap at empowering young people anyway. People in general actually, but especially with young people, there's almost this hierarchy of, whether you're a parent or a teacher, and then your child who sits below you and actually should just do as they're told. I think that's changing, not everyone's the same, but generally speaking. And And I've totally forgotten where I was going with that.
Oh, that's okay. We'll see what comes back. But we're talking about the impact. Well, okay, being empowered in the school. And as I'm thinking that.
Oh, I was talking about it being an interesting.
You're back. Do it.
She's in the room. She's in the room. It was an interesting time because I think it's always been evident. I spent several years working in education. I think it's always been evident. But I think the prevalence of it now is so much greater, having been through the last 2.5 years, where actually our year 9 students, they came out of primary school as the eldest in the school and into secondary school as the youngest in the school, but all of a sudden got taken out of that, in and out. You know, the masks, everything changed massively. And all of a sudden, when it went back to normal, suddenly they're year 9 and they're option years, and actually you're picking your choices for your GCSEs. And by the way, what are you doing after school? So I think that whole notion of empowerment's always been there. And I don't think we're particularly good at empowering young people, but actually it seems to be an even greater thing that we need to be working on now, because we've got this whole generation of young people that have just had so much disruption in their lives over the last couple of years and have been thrust back into the system now and kind of expected just to get on with it. So there were some interesting challenges.
Really were. And it's interesting as you're saying that, I come back to a term, rites of passage. Coming of age.
Yeah.
And I know it's something we've spoken about in the past, about where we don't live in a kind of a tribal society today where at a certain age boys transition to men through a ceremony or an experience. But at the same time, what we just spoke about then, transitioning into secondary school, was an existing rites of passage where you went back down the pecking order, where you had to re-establish yourself, perhaps had to find where you were, and that really didn't happen in a way that had already been assumed to be there for years. So I think it's an interesting I guess parallel for me to draw then, that kind of that rites of passage, because I think, and I guess personal experience here is not really taking ownership of adult life, of transitioning into man.
And he said it on camera.
I did. Absolutely.
No, I know.
It's what we talk about a lot. But that taking, I think, self-responsibility, and I know this is, I mean, it's a whole new episode, a whole new podcast. But yeah, that's
Andrew show.
the Andrew show. But you know, it's I think it's a show of the modern world, because I think there is, from that disempowerment in youth and being spoon-fed and told what to do in society, that there is a generation, or there are individuals, and I'm putting my hand up here, who existed maybe through experiences too, which maybe kind of shut me down. I don't know. I mean, that's something else, but there is the possibility of existing in life into adulthood without really taking responsibility. And I think we see that a lot, and
ever more so now. Someone we recently spoke to, that was on a shamanic practitioner course, and we were speaking about, you know, society as a whole and culture, and that whole idea of all the rights without the responsibilities.
Yes.
And kind of breeding that culture where you can be or do anything you want to be, but you don't actually have to take responsibility for it either. It's quite interesting, and again, that's probably a whole other show. But it's really interesting you talking about empowerment or disempowerment, and then going into that adulthood, which is a huge rite of passage that you kind of expect it to, oh, there you go then, just get on with it.
Yeah.
My experience is different in that, and I don't know whether it's because I'm a woman, But something that's come up for me quite recently is going back to like my late teens, feeling like I'd never been given the opportunity to be empowered, but at the same time I still felt the weight of responsibility in that in my late teens I should have had my shit together, and I should have known how to organise my life properly, and to, you know, I lived at 19, I was just south of Edinburgh, in a group house with some other women my age, and I just look back at what a mess it was, and how my own idea that I should have my shit together then and have everything sorted and be this responsible adult, which couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, you know, I was 19. What do you know of the world when you're 19?
Yeah.
Not a lot. So it's really interesting to draw the parallels in that, as a woman who was, you know, supposed to be going into adulthood, I was kind of in there thinking I should have it all sorted, and I should know what I'm doing, and I should be able to just get on with things by myself. And when you try that, it invariably fails, because actually at 19 there's no way. And I look at things that went on in my own life then, and that I have subsequently blamed myself for over the years, and I thought, well, actually, where was the adult? Where was the adult in that situation? Because I wouldn't classify myself as an adult at 19, not anymore. I might have done back then, thought I was it, but yeah, it's interesting.
It is interesting. Again, just picking up on words that I think within what you shared, maybe I shared, the concept of should, what we should have, what we should be doing, based upon the concept, I guess, judging ourselves on society at large. But society at large is just painted through media, through generally accepted how things should be.
Yeah.
Whereas in fact, you know, I think I gave all my power away. I expected to be told what to do, and which, Robin.
Yeah, there for you.
Yeah. Which I think, and again, perhaps we'll come into that another, because there's so much we can share about this. But society, should, expectation, and again, not necessarily knowingly empowered through awareness, so that then we create choice, and that choice might be to seek advice, a mentor, help. Again, you know, there is no such thing as perfection. There is just now with awareness of what's right now.
Yeah.
And maybe that is just asking for help, seeking information. But again, you know, empowerment through awareness, perhaps. Wow, that went deep.
Woo. That's what happens when you leave us alone talking for a long time in the woods or in a coffee shop.
Oh yeah. It's so lucky it wasn't in the coffee shop. The rain went away.
Yeah, we've been lucky with the weather today.
We have. I think we're coming to the end of episode 2.
I think so. We're not far from being back to the car park. So crossing back over that threshold.
Yep. Offering our gratitude for
Yeah.
the experience, and I guess the words that have come to us and what we've shared already.
Yeah, I mean, either some of it will resonate with you, or you'll be like, what the hell have they been talking about for the last however long? We have no idea. And that'll be the last time you listen to the podcast.
But yeah, I think, you know, ultimately we're sharing from the heart. The experience we share here in nature is from the heart. It's authentic. And we really want to share our passion. Again, if you've got any questions, reach out to us.
Is this a good one to ask, Pan? I just want to ask you about that time when you were 22.
But yeah, I think, you know, I know we've got some inspiration already that's come through. But again, we are after that input, just to understand what do people want to know more about. We have ideas, like I said before. And I think, in closing perhaps, there's some words we should share.
I think so. Yes.
You got something?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what do you want? Do you want to be on camera? Or do you want
Oh no,
nature?
let's flip the camera around and let them
Let
enjoy.
nature.
This one's called A Blessing of Solitude. May you recognise in your life the presence, power and light of your soul. May you realise that you are never alone, that your soul in its brightness and belonging connects you intimately with the rhythm of the universe. May you have respect for your own individuality and difference. May you realise the shape of your soul is unique, that you have a special destiny here, that behind the facade of your life there is something beautiful, good and eternal happening. May you learn to see yourself with the same delight, pride and expectation with which Mother Earth sees you in every moment.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. And if you have any questions, let us know.
Hopefully we'll see you either at Hart's Barn or on the Halloween walk whenever we decide what day.
One of those, yeah. Take care.
Probably the 22nd. Are we going to clarify this right now?
Should we clarify it right now? Well, it's in the leaflets. It's a Samhain walk, so it should be towards the end of the month. Is that right?
Yeah, so in my head it was the 29th because Halloween is the 31st.
Okay, that's when it is then.
So it's the 29th.
It's the 29th.
So Hart's Barn Cookery School.
That which is the 24th.
24th.
Carers Walk on the 20th.
Yeah, and then the Samhain Community Walk on the 29th.
Brilliant.
All on our social medias.
Will be. Okay, take care, and we look forward to joining you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.